Hello fish fools, Jeff here. So we're looking at my 40-gallon planted livebeater community tank. And just watching this aquarium, all the fish appear to be happy and healthy, right? I think so. No signs of stress or anything out of the ordinary. But there is something that's probably different about this tank than I would think the average aquarium, the average household aquarium. And I mean, this is 40 gallons, it has a lot of fish in it. Some might consider it overstocked. Some might also know that it's just fine as long as water changes are kept up with. But it's not the stocking that I'm talking about, but there is something that is, one thing that's different is this tank is kept considerably cooler than most tanks. So what temperature does the average aquarium, is the average aquarium kept at? 78? 78 is a common temperature. There are some heaters that, there are adjustable heaters, but there are some that are not adjustable that will be automatically set at 78 degrees. This tank is not 78 degrees. This is almost 10 degrees cooler. So I do have a thermometer here. Let's see if I can line it up so we can see the... There we go. So it's just slightly under 70, about 69. And see how it has that green range from 72 to 80. That's probably in that range would be, advised to keep most aquariums. And again, the average aquarium is kept towards the high end of that range. And I did just do a water change the other day, and I noticed the water seemed a little bit cooler, because I actually would prefer it to be 72. I do keep my house, the temperature of my house, 72, and this tank does have a heater. That's an Aquarium Pro 100 heater, but I haven't used it. I haven't used it in quite a while. The entire time since I've moved, it's been almost a year since I moved to my house, and I never used the heater then. And even before I moved in my apartment, probably at least the last year or so, I wasn't using the heater. But I just kept my aquariums at room temperature, so I heat it 72 in the winter and 78, I cool it to 78 in the summer. So I just let it be room temperature. I live in southern Nevada, and it's crazy hot in the summer. From June, July, and August, 3 months straight, it's 100 degrees every day, but I keep my AC at 78 during the hot months, and then it does still get cold at night in the winter. Like, it'll get down in the 30s. It's been down in the 30s lately. Today was a little bit warmer, but anyway, yeah. So I did notice this was a little cooler, and I think that has to do with just next to this window right here, and then this door right here. It is a little bit cooler from just, I guess, the cool draft from the window and the door. And we have in my other 40-gallon tank right next to it. No thermometer is in here, but it should be about the same. But even with it that much cooler, the fish are just fine. I mean, that's below like what would be considered a good range, like 3 degrees below the range of, you know, the low end of the ideal range of 72. I mean, it's only going to be, you know, it's going to be seasonal. It's going to warm up, but that's just how it would be in nature anyway. I suppose one thing, the fish are breeding. There's lots of guppy and platyfry that were born and grew up in this tank. They might, I think higher temperatures would allow fry and babies to grow faster, and that might be a contributing factor that mine are growing slower, like the platies may not be fully grown yet when perhaps they should be. But I mean, that's also, I don't feed them as much. The more you feed them, they're going to grow faster. And I feed my fish maybe once a day. I mean, there will be, in the course of a week, there might be a day or two I might even skip it with my busy schedule, where, you know, those who might breed live bearers or breed any fish will feed multiple times a day. Yeah, so aside from that, I mean, really, the fish seem just fine, even if it's cooler. But this is one of the tanks that has a thermometer in it, but I'm going to check out another one. Alright, so here is my 29-gallon swordtail community tank. This has a thermometer in it. And looking at this one, if I can line that up. Okay, there we go. So that is 72. So that's what my my thermostat is set at. But just on the same, you know, on the first floor, but just, I think is the difference of being my 40 gallons near the window and the door, and this is just, might just be that it's a little just cooler in that spot. This is where I would have thought that the 40 gallon was. And then we have thermometers in a couple other tanks. So here's my 6-foot 84-gallon community display tank with mostly schooling fish. And there is a thermometer here. There's the pearl gourami looking awesome. And some of the emerald green corridors. I am noticing there is some diatom algae on the glass. Since I set this up, I haven't cleaned that. But now it's about the time. I set this up in September. It's now the end of February, so next water change, I'll scrape the grass. Well, anyway, here's the thermometer. Let me see if I can line it up so we can see it's a little sideways. I don't think I'm going to be able to line it up at this angle, but this is 72. I just checked before, so this is set at the room temperature. And another. And I almost forgot, I thought that was it for thermometers, like thermometers that I added to tanks, but this, I did just remember that this 5-gallon aquarium kit came with one of these thermometers, and it's 5.5 gallon. And I don't think I'm going to be able to line it up quite right, but this is also shows 72. So all of the aquariums with thermometers on the first floor are 72. That, set at room temperature, except for the 40 gallon that is near the window. And this is my 5.5 gallon. This had lots of Neocaridina cherry shrimp in it, and they all recently, there was a mass extinction. All the shrimp died, and the few guppies I had in here. And I tested the water, and I was like, pH was crazy low. I kind of neglected it, and did almost nearly 100% water change, and to get it back up again, the plan was to use this as for selective breeding for some live bearers. See, there's black-beard algae. Perhaps I'll put a Siamese algae eater in here to clean it up before I really get it going again. I did just drop some snails in, so the snails are okay. It's mostly Subwassertang and Java moss in here. But I did just add a guppy in it about a week ago or so when I did a water change in my 3.5 gallon wild guppy and Endler hybrid tank. And one of the fry, as I was doing the water change, I scooped one up and I was like, alright, well, I'll just dropped it in here. Haven't seen it. I mean, there's plenty of place to hide one little tiny fry. It would be hard to find. 2 days after I put it in, I did see it out in the open, but I haven't seen it since. Hopefully it's okay, but yeah, I mean, for a future project, or I'm gonna do some select breeding in this, but I just wanted to show the temperature. So let's go back to the 40 gallon. All right, back to the 40 gallon. So yeah, this temperature of this tank is pretty low by aquarium tank temperature standards, but despite that, the fish are fine. So no heaters. I have heaters, but none of them are being used, and the entire time, it's been close to a year since I moved to my house, I have not used an aquarium heater since I moved. Prior to moving, well, actually this was my setup in my 30 gallon before I moved. This 40 gallon was an upgrade from that, but most of the setup here, including the Aquarium, but even the last year or so, I didn't even have the heater plugged in. And that 29 gallon that I showed after this, that has a heater in it too. I haven't been using that. Yeah, I just haven't been using heaters. I just been letting my tanks stay at room temperature. I mean, I was a little bit concerned when I first realized that this was below 70, about 69. But again, all these tanks that I showed with the thermometers in them, all the others show 72. This is reading 69. I mean, it could possibly just be that the thermometer is off. So I may actually even just, yeah, I think I will put another aquarium thermometer in here side by side just to see if it's the thermometer, if it is actually just a little bit cooler next to the window. But even then, it's just going to be, that's going to be seasonal. It's not that long from now, it's going to start getting hot here, and I'll as the room temperature just naturally rises up to the point that I'm going to have to start using AC instead of heat, and then it'll be 78. But yeah, so that's just an example. Heaters may not be entirely necessary. In my experience, they're not, but fish can do just fine in like the lower range rather than some insistence of keeping aquariums at 78 degrees. All right, well, that's it for now. And remember, I'm Jeff, and I enjoy fishes. Thanks for watching.